Usually when this is in person, it's more of a dialogue. So I'm sure Chris did an introduction already, but my name is Kirsten Collins, and I've been giving these presentations for about 5 years with the Office of Higher Ed, and I've been working with colleges and universities and in education with financial aid, with admissions, and with scholarships for about 10 years now. So that's my background. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about financial aid and scholarships and what you can expect. Can I get an idea of who we have in the room tonight? How old is everyone's student?
12th grade.
Okay, great. And you can type it in the chat too if you don't want to unmute, that's fine. So are they mostly seniors and juniors?
I can read off senior, senior. I see one junior, junior, senior, 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 senior. So mostly seniors with a few juniors sprinkled in, I would say.
Okay, that sounds great. All right, whoops. Let me try this again. Okay. So I'm from, as I mentioned, the Office of Higher Ed. We're a cabinet level state agency, and we provide students with financial aid programs and information to help them gain access to post-secondary education. We also focus on data research and secondary enrollment, financial aid, finance, and trends. So that's kind of what the Office of Higher Education is about. You can find a lot of resources on our website. You can take a screenshot here or take a picture with your phone, but I also sent this presentation to your counselors, and they are welcome to share it with you. So, okay, so what is financial aid? Well, it's money awarded to students who have demonstrated that they have a financial need based on their FAFSA. So could folks just type in the chat if you have filled out a FAFSA before, like if you have another child that's in college or if you remember filling one out for yourself? And Chris, what are you seeing? Do people have?
Sorry, yeah, I have my mic off, yes. Lots of no's, a few yeses. I would say maybe 15 no's and 2 yeses, approximately.
Okay. So pay attention to those yeses. If you all have a connection with those people, they can kind of help you a little bit through the process, or at least reassure you that once you do it, it's not that difficult. So the money that you get from filling out the FAFSA, and the FAFSA, you'll fill out every year because it's based on income. So as your income changes, your financial aid will change. The money that you get from this falls into 4 different categories. So it falls into grants. This is free money. You don't have to pay it back. Scholarships, again, free money. Work study, which is a great option. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But I really encourage folks to apply for work study. And then loans. And loans, you pay this back with interest. But there are some loans that don't accrue interest while you're in school. So we'll talk about those too. So who receives financial aid? Well, students whose families have little or no money to attend. So contrary to popular belief or some beliefs, it is a family's obligation to provide as much financial support as they can for their child to attend school. If you're not able to, then you'll be awarded financial aid. So I've had students in the past that say, well, my family isn't going to help me with college. And, the bottom line is the government that awards the money doesn't necessarily care about that unless you're an independent student or in the foster care system or experiencing homelessness or something. There is the expectation that the family will help. I did have students that were low to moderate income that received state grants. And so I always say just apply to the FAFSA, even if you don't think you would be eligible for state or federal grants. because you get put in the FAFSA when you fill it out goes to the university or college or technical school where your child wants to go, and then they determine whether they want to give you money as well. So sometimes it's not income based. So fill out the FAFSA regardless, you never know what you'll get. So everyone seeking financial aid is required to fill out the FAFSA. I just want to reiterate here, it's the free application for federal student aid. So there are some organizations that'll say like, pay $20 and we'll fill out your FAFSA and you'll get more money. That's not true. It links with the IRS, or there's the option to do that. And so there's really no way to kind of get more money or fill it out better. So it should always be free. Chris, do you all generally offer like workshops to help parents fill out the FAFSA, or do you kind of get a financial aid?
The CCC normally has a couple financial aid nights. I think the district actually had one too. So I think last year was my first year at South. I believe there were at least 3 FAFSA completion evenings events.
Great. Yeah, so I would say definitely attend those. I've helped with those. You know, I've been a part of those, and not at South in particular, but it's so helpful to have someone that's filled this out a lot, just helping you. But it's manageable too. I don't want to scare folks. Okay, so the FAFSA is used to determine how much financial need a student has for attending college. So once you fill out the FAFSA, they give you what's called an EFC. This just means the estimated family contribution. So looking at your income and looking at the cost of attendance, where you want to go, like how much it costs to be a student, what can your family feasibly contribute? That's what your EFC is. And then they subtract the EFC from the cost of attendance, and whatever's left is what the amount of financial aid that you'll be awarded. So say the cost of attendance is $30,000 a year. And again, that includes everything. That includes tuition, books, you know, it's an estimate of what it will cost to be a student for a year. So if the cost of attendance is $30,000, the family estimated contribution is $5,000, then the amount of financial aid awarded would be $25,000. And that'll be in grants and loans and scholarships. Does that make sense? Okay. So the school you attend will then award all of this money based off your need. Often now it goes into direct deposit. When I was in college, you'd actually like get a check every term, but this usually gets directly deposited into the student's account. Tuition gets paid out of that. Dorm gets, you know, their dorm fees get paid out of that and everything too. So who fills out the FAFSA? Parents and students together. So anyone is seeking financial aid. If the student's emancipated, they need to provide documentation. Otherwise, their parents' income will be part of the financial aid process. Now, if folks know kids that maybe do not have a relationship with their parents, but it's not legal, it's not documented, once they get to college, they can work with the financial aid office to fill out a petition to be an independent student. So one thing I'll say about financial aid is there's often loopholes, or I just say there's a petition for everything. So if you have questions, I strongly encourage you to keep calling the financial aid office if you don't get an answer that makes sense to you. And always ask if there's a petition process for something. I filled out a lot of petitions over the years. So now undocumented students unfortunately don't qualify for federal aid, so they don't need to fill out the FAFSA, but there's still hope through the Minnesota DREAM Act, and I'll talk about that later on. I also have a list of potential scholarship sites for undocumented students, and Augsburg has a really great financial aid program for undocumented students and a great list of resources too. So I'll share those with you too. So very recently, I think maybe 3 years ago or something, The FAFSA was available. Students could start filling it out after October 1st of their senior year. So if you have seniors, you can fill out the FAFSA anytime now. And then again, you fill it out every year that you attend college and you want to receive financial aid. The reason this is because now they're using your taxes from 2 years ago to determine your estimated family contribution. So if you've had a significant change in finances, say a family member lost their job, COVID happened and affected the family finances, that's not reflected 2 years ago in your taxes, right? And so that's an example of when you would want to complete a petition. It is called the change of circumstances petition. So call the financial aid office where your child hopes to attend and just ask them about that process. The deadline for filling out the FAFSA is June 30th, the year before you plan to attend. This doesn't mean if you fill it out after that, you won't get money. This just means that in order to be eligible for a lot of the aid, including work study as an example, financial aid you may get specifically from the institution as another example. So in order to kind of have the best shot at those, you'll want to fill it out before June 30th. But I had students that maybe forgot or something came up, they didn't think they were going, and then they decided to enroll last minute and filled their FAFSA out in the fall, a week after school started and received the money. Now, I will say, there's a certain deadline in the fall where if you haven't filled out your FAFSA, you're just out of luck. But don't, if you get in that situation, don't decide not to go because you haven't filled it out by June 30th. However, fill it out as early as you can. What happens when you fill out the FAFSA is it goes to 3 different places. It goes to the state government, the federal government, and up to 10 institutions. There is a way to add more, but if you're thinking of, 10 schools or up to 10 schools, you can put them on there. So it'll go to the institution. And then all of those places decide how much money they're going to give you. So if you fill it out early, you may be more eligible for that institutional money. State and federal grants probably won't run out. Work study does run out. But institutional money is kind of a first come, first serve type of thing. So fill it out as soon as you can. So to begin the FAFSA, both students and parents need to get an FSA ID by creating an account here. Parents will share the same ID. And then here's all the documentation that you would need. A social security number or alien registration number, federal tax, income tax returns, W-2s, and then bank statements of any records of investment, if this is applicable. You also need records of untaxed income, if that's applicable. Now, mostly, all you really need is a social security number or alien registration number, and then you'll be able to link to the IRS website for your tax information. Oh, and then of course you do need your FSA ID. I would say with the FSA ID, once you set this, put it in your phone or take a picture and email it to or email it to yourself, or just put it somewhere where you'll have it and you'll remember it. People forget all the time, and if you do forget, it's not a big deal. You just have to kind of go through this process of resetting it and all of that. Now this year there's a new phone application. I've heard it's pretty slick. I haven't used it, but if you wanted to try and complete it on your phone, you could certainly do that. It's just the My FAFSA or My Student Aid. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about grants. Grants, again, are free money. So we have the federal Pell Grant and the state Pell Grant, and then there's often college grants. Like the University of Minnesota has the U-Promise grant. Some grants are awarded year after year, like the federal and the state grants, and often the U-Promise, and then some are only awarded for 1 year. So when you get your financial aid estimate, these are kind of things that you'll want to look for, whether it's a 4-year or whether it's a 1 year, to help you make your decision on where you want to attend. The federal and the state grants do have time limits. The state Pell Grant goes for about 4 years, roughly. It depends on how many credits you're taking and all of that. But once the clock starts ticking on that, it doesn't stop. So if you stop out for a term, you kind of forfeit that semester of state grant. And for some students, it's worth it. It's better to stop out if something comes up than to mess up your GPA when you're not in a space to do well in school. So the federal grant lasts roughly about 6 years. So, if you do stop out for a semester, the federal grant will still be there. And then college funded grants all kind of have their own requirements. Most grants have eligibility requirements. This is usually GPA related. So if students end up on what's called academic probation for falling below a 2.0 GPA, sometimes it's 2.5 depending on the grant, then they could be put on financial aid probation as well. So what that means is the college generally says to you, hey, you had a rough term, you're on probation. So, get it together and nothing will happen. You'll still continue to get your financial aid. If the next term the same thing happens, they could end up on financial aid suspension. And what this means is there'll be a petition process. So the student will have to petition, and what makes a strong petition is there was an extenuating circumstance that caused the student's grades to slip, and proving that that is no longer the case. So just so you know, again, there's a petition process for almost everything. So just be aware of that. Let's see. And then this has some reasons why you would need to repay a grant. I've never known a student to have to repay a grant. But if you're interested, and I think one of them is maybe a drug offense or something. So if you're interested, you can go look that up. Okay, scholarships are free money awarded for special talents, grades, cultural or religious backgrounds, etc., and you don't have to pay these back. Now is a great time, whether you're juniors or seniors, to start searching for them. I would say that you have a much better chance of getting scholarships when you're still in high school than you do once you get to college. There's not nearly as many. There are some, but there's not nearly as many. So start looking, and I forget what the number is, but there's a direct correlation between how much time students put in to applying for scholarships and how much money they actually get. And it's something crazy like, $500 an hour or something, but it's well worth the time to apply for scholarships. The best place to look to find out about what scholarships are, worth applying to, what scholarship students in the community are getting, is their high school advisor. So connect with them. They know the popular scholarships that students are getting. They often know if there's a scholarship that, has 500 applicants or 5,000 applicants or something, and only gives one scholarship. So they'll have a good idea of whether what's a good scholarship to apply for. Another place is libraries. Church and community organizations also have scholarships. Credit unions a lot of the time have scholarships. So I'll provide a link to places you can find more scholarships. A big scholarship search engine is FastWeb. A lot of people use that too. Oh, here we go. Okay. So if you want to, again, take a screenshot or a picture with your phone of this, or you can wait for the PowerPoint to be sent out. But here is a list of some popular scholarship sites. College Greenlight, yeah, that's a new one, and that's become more popular in recent years. So Okay, so loans, and Chris, can I get a check on time? How long do we have for this session?
Yep, we have until 7:30, so we have 15 more minutes.
Okay, and are there any questions yet?
There was two questions that I was thinking about. One, are your slides going to be available? I know we're recording, but I didn't know about the slideshow, if that would be available somewhere.
Yeah, feel free to send that out. I sent it to Catherine.
Awesome. Okay, yep. So then we'll make that available on probably the CCC website, which is where the video will go. And then the other question is, someone asked about recommending specific scholarships for Latino students.
Oh, yes, I do have a link for that. So I will show that at the end. And I have a whole list of them.
Awesome. Thank you.
One of the lists is for undocumented students, but there's ones in there for Latino students regardless of documentation status on that list too.
So another person asked about sorry, this question just popped up for Rhett. Where can we find the change of circumstance forms?
Oh yeah, good question. Call the financial aid office. This would be more through the school than, in my experience anyway, that's the way I've always filled it out, is through the school. So I would call the financial aid office where they want to go and just let them know, and they can direct you either to the right place or to send you the form.
Great, thank you.
So loans, again, are borrowed money from the government. I always tell people any loans you get from filling out of the FAFSA are good loans. You know, be cautious of private loans. I know some people have to take them out, but just be cautious of that because they can often have a high interest rate. The two main loans are subsidized and unsubsidized loans. Now, when you get your financial aid award letter, the financial aid office is going to first accept grants, you know, on your behalf, and then they will provide you with the best loan for you. So the loans with the lowest interest rate first, if that makes sense. But subsidized loans are the really good one. They don't accrue interest while you're in school, and they won't start to accrue until you're less than half-time status or 6 months after you graduate. Unsubsidized loans have a very low interest rate, but it does accrue while you're in school. So subsidized is your best bet, but unsubsidized are still good loans too. Right now, the average debt an undergraduate student is graduating with is about $36,000. Hopefully things will change as our country kind of starts to see that, that student loan debt is a real problem. But I will say, even with $36,000, the return on your investment is still really high. College graduates make quite a bit more over their lifetime than those who didn't go to college. They tend to have safer jobs with health insurance, own their own homes. You know, there's a lot of opportunities that open up from being a college graduate still. So it's still a good use of money. Other ways to pay are savings. The Minnesota College Savings Plan is a good option. This can be only used for education purposes, but it can be transferred to, you know, other children if one, you know, decides not to go or something like that. And it can be used for anything related to school, whether it's gas or books or room and board. So that's a good one. And then family contribution. Let's see. Some other ways to pay would be military and community service. So there's ROTC scholarships. And then there's AmeriCorps. I had students that did both, and I think Peace Corps is on here as well. And I did AmeriCorps for 2 years, and I got about $10,000 for school, a living stipend, and a lot of really great professional development that I wouldn't have gotten as an entry-level person coming out of college otherwise. So I highly recommend AmeriCorps. And ROTC, I had some students that enjoyed that too, if that's something your child is interested in. And then Peace Corps is also a good option. You can get a 15% of Perkins loan balance canceled for each year of service.
Can I jump in? Can I ask you, we have a couple questions, so, and I want to get to them. Okay, so first, if we apply FAFSA now in October, before getting accepted to a university or college, can we still list the college of our choice when we apply?
Oh, great question. Yeah, list anywhere that you're thinking about going on there. You can list up to 10. And what I tell students is then you'll get financial aid award estimates from each of those places, and you can make the decision kind of with all the information at that point. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Great.
All right, next question. Are there differences between parent and student loans in relation to subsidized versus unsubsidized?
Oh, good question. So the parent loan is, so unsubsidized and subsidized are student loans. And then the parent loan is kind of a separate loan that's often offered by the university. And that one does accrue interest while there's a student in college. But that one is the responsibility of the parent. Everything else is the responsibility of the student, though.
Two people are wondering about a 529 plan, if that's a good, so could you please explain why the 529 plan is a good way to save money for higher education?
Yeah, so 529, and I'm a little rusty on this one, but I believe it's tax exempt. So as long as you're using it for educational purposes, I'll have to look it up and I'll get back to you on that, but I can't remember whether it's pre-tax or tax exempt. So let me look, but there's some tax benefit to doing it that way.
Another tax question, kind of tax question. Is it true you can use money from a Roth IRA for education without an early withdrawal penalty?
Ooh, I don't know that. I would ask a financial advisor. I'm not sure. That's a good question.
And then last question right now, when will you receive the estimate from each college?
So it used to be you would get it around April. You'll get it definitely before the deadline to like decision day deadline. But it, and the earlier you apply, the earlier that you'll get it.
And that's it for questions.
Okay, great.
I also did AmeriCorps, and big thumbs up for AmeriCorps. Sorry.
Yeah, it's great. It was I loved AmeriCorps. Okay, so I did look up some more information on the 529. Earnings grow free from federal tax, and many states offer a state income tax deduction or tax credit for contributions. Let's see. Yep, and withdrawals are tax-free at both the federal and state level when used for qualified educational expenses. Okay, so we have just a few minutes left. I'll just say, your high school counselor has probably talked to you about AP, College in the Schools, or PSEO. These are great options to earn some free college credits. I encourage folks to really think about where they go to PSEO and talk to the PSEO counselors and find out what kind of support there is at that institution. Some schools have a really good reputation for PSEO and a lot of support, and some don't. And this can really kind of affect your trajectory later on. So look into that. And I'm going to show you a few sample award letters. So let's look closer at this one. So this shows you kind of what tuition and fees are. This is for St. Cloud State, what housing and meals will cost, what books will cost, and then the total charges per year. And then below that, you'll see how much Pell Grant they're going to offer, how much state grant, and how much in scholarships they would offer. So as you can see, although tuition is almost $20,000 a year, the student's getting over $10,000 in free money. So no one really pays. I mean, you rarely pay the sticker price. So apply to where you want to go. Sometimes private institutions will surprise you. Like Augsburg has really good financial aid for a lot of folks, including undocumented students. So So sometimes you'll pay less at Augsburg than you would at the U or another institution. So okay, and then here there's another one for Bethel. Is there another question?
Yeah, there is. I'm sorry, just to throw it out real quick. What if you don't include your school that you end up going to on your 10 on your FAFSA?
Oh, you can add more. So I would say just write down everywhere that you're thinking of. You can always like go back into the FAFSA and add another one. Okay. And this kind of just shows how families are paying for college in general. Okay. Here's some ways to make it more affordable. Attending in, a college in the home state definitely helps, but again, you don't know what you're going to be offered until you apply. Some students go to community college. Let's see. Some live at home. Some are working. I mean, I will say this about work, and I'll say something about work study really quickly, is that we know that it's around 12 hours a week that we want students to work. It's good for students to work while they're in school. It helps with time management, but working too much is really a bad idea. And it's not a very good kind of it's not very good for the investment that you're putting into college. And here's kind of the cost of yearly tuition. Let's see. And I'm sorry, least expensive and most expensive should be switched, the titles, but you get the gist of it. Reciprocity is an agreement between states that allows a non-resident student to attend college at the same tuition rate as the resident. However, if a Minnesota State student goes to Wisconsin, they're not going to get the state grant, and vice versa. So you kind of forfeit the state grant, but you do get a lower tuition amount. Okay, and then here's all the things that your money will be paying for: room, board, books, supplies, transportation. This is all part of that cost of attendance. It's listed as COA on some forms. A little bit about the DREAM Act, and then I'll show you some of those other scholarships. Here's the requirement. So it's in-state tuition rates for Minnesota State colleges and universities and U of M campus. So, before they used to charge undocumented students as international students, and the DREAM Act kind of changed that. And then you're also eligible for privately funded scholarships. Again, Augsburg has some really good ones. They have a reputation for having some good ones. You have to have attended a Minnesota high school for at least 3 years, graduated from a Minnesota high school, and then selective service, and then apply for lawful immigration status once there is a process.
I know we have 2 minutes. Can I ask a quick question that I've had myself?
Sure.
That also someone asked, which is, what about if you want to go to a school in Canada? I have lots of students who are interested in applying to school in Canada. How does financial aid work for Canadian schools?
Oh, I'm not exactly sure. I know that we do have reciprocity with, is it Manitoba? But I'm not exactly sure how it works with Canadian schools. I'm sorry.
No, that sounds good. I need to look into that. And most of the students are applying to Manitoba, so that would be good if they have.
Great. So they'll still get, they'll still get that rate. If you know a foster kid or you have a foster child, then the ETV, Educational Training Voucher, is great. So apply for that. They can get $5,000 a year up until they're 26 to pay for all kinds of stuff. And then, just so you know, there's not a lot that COVID's affected besides the obvious. Some schools are changing the ACT, SAT option. And then let us know if you need help with anything. I am going to stop this, and I'm wondering if I can post something in the chat with resources. Here's where we have a couple of scholarships for Latino students. Yes, so I'll post these links in the chat for those folks that were wondering about specifically for Latino students. And then here's also a link from Augsburg. If you were specifically interested in for undocumented students, one of the great scholarships, Wallen and Page Scholars are undocumented students qualify for those. So those are another great option. So are there any questions? I know we're running out of time here.
I think we're all caught up in the chat room questions. We just have some thank yous for you.
Great. All right, well, good luck. It's really exciting time, so.
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope everyone enjoyed. I learned things, so that was awesome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Bye, everybody. And Chris, should I just stay in here for the next session?
You know, I think, let me see if the link is the same or different. I see some new people came in, so maybe it is the same link. So yeah, stay there for now and then we'll see. Yeah, it looks like it's the same link, so we can just stay here.
Hey all, this is Kevin. I'm your presenter for this session. Should I just share screen or what should I do?
I think you're in the wrong session.
This isn't going to be the Wallen session?
No, this is the financial aid session. So,
oh, Katie, we're good. Katie said she'll email me, so I'm sure she'll get it to me and I'll be in the right room in a minute or two. Thanks for letting me know, y'all.
Sure, no problem.
Excuse me, I have no pen in my car. I'm sitting in a parking lot. Will we have the ability to have access to the PowerPoint somehow?
Yes, Ms. Collins says she'll share it with us, and I'm assuming, and it looks like Katie's on here, that or maybe she just got off. We will share it on this College and Career Center website, along with the recording, which I guess I need to stop now that I thought about that. But yes, we will make that available.
All right, thank you.
Sure, no problem. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.